Walk me through your perspective on the flagrant foul. What was the point you were trying to make to her?
It's just a good take foul, you know. If either Angel gets wide open 2 points, or we send him to the free throw line. Nothing malicious about it. It's just a take foul.
The league didn't collapse because of bad basketball. It cracked because the stars everyone expected never walked through the door. And the silence left behind dragged Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese straight back into the center of the conversation once again.
Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark. Afterwards has something to say as Clark walks away. We know there are...
Unrivaled was supposed to be the proof that women's basketball had finally reached escape velocity, a moment where the sport could thrive on structure, innovation, and depth rather than leaning on a few transcendent names. It was marketed as the future and a new generation of fans who wanted something fresh. Instead, its early stumble exposed an uncomfortable truth that many executives hoped had already been buried. Women's basketball still bends around its brightest stars, even when those stars are not present. The warning signs did not appear quietly. They were loud, deliberate, and calculated. Late in 2025, Unrivaled's marketing leaned heavily into cryptic symbolism, especially the repeated use of the number 22. In a sport where numbers carry identity, this was not subtle.
Always increased eyeballs, energy, and attention around the matchups between Reese and Clark. And Angel Reese,
fans immediately connected the dots to Caitlin Clark, whose number 22 has become one of the most recognizable symbols in modern basketball, and Angel Reese, whose rivalry and visibility have made her inseparable from any conversation about growth in the women's game. The campaign did not deny those assumptions. It allowed them to breathe. It let anticipation grow unchecked. When opening tip arrived and neither name appeared, the reaction was not outrage, but something more dangerous. Disengagement. Trust quietly evaporated. Viewers who tuned in expecting a seismic moment felt misled, and once that initial curiosity faded, the product was left to stand on its own at a time when it was not ready to do so. That is the kind of miscalculation leagues rarely recover from quickly, because first impressions harden fast. Unrivaled expanded aggressively for its second season. More teams, larger rosters, and bigger venues. These were signals of confidence meant to communicate momentum, but expansion without guaranteed star power is a gamble, especially in a media landscape where attention spans are short and loyalty is earned slowly. Early broadcasts showed a clear dip in viewership compared to the debut season, and arena shots revealed empty sections that told a story no press release could soften. What made the drop more striking was that the basketball itself was not the problem. The level of play remained high, the athletes were skilled, the games were competitive, but quality alone did not create urgency. Fans did not feel like they were missing something essential if they tuned out. That sense of must-watch energy, the feeling that something historic could happen at any moment, was missing, and that feeling is almost always attached to individuals, not formats. The league's first season benefited from novelty and recognizable names like Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, and Sabrina Ionescu. This time, injuries, and shifting priorities thinned that appeal. Ionescu's absence alone removed a major draw, and while Angel Reese remained a central figure, one star cannot shoulder an entire league's gravity. The absence of Caitlin Clark, the sport's most powerful attention magnet, was impossible to ignore. Clark's influence exists beyond box scores. She brings casual viewers, non-traditional fans, and mainstream sports audiences who might otherwise skip women's basketball entirely. Her presence changes algorithms, headlines, and television negotiations. That is not hyperbole, it is measurable. When she plays, ratings spike. When she does not, conversations still orbit her. Unrivaled discovered this the hard way. Now hold your breath and smash that subscribe button, baddies and boys, because what complicated matters further was the shifting financial landscape. When Unrivaled was first pitched, one of its selling points was compensation. It positioned itself as a player-first league, offering financial incentives that rivaled or surpassed existing structures. But the WNBA's newly ratified collective bargaining agreement changed that equation dramatically. Increased salaries, improved revenue sharing, and stronger long-term security narrowed the gap Unrivaled once used as leverage. Suddenly, the incentive to jump into a side league became less competitive compelling for elite players, especially those with long-term brand strategies. Caitlin Clark in particular had little reason to divert her focus. Even while navigating injuries and managing workload, her WNBA presence, endorsement portfolio, and media visibility continued to grow. Her Nike relationship expanded. Her off-court appearances remained headline-worthy. From a business perspective, the risk of overexposure outweighed the potential reward of experimentation. Angel Reese represents a different but equally powerful axis of influence. Her impact blends performance, personality, fashion, and cultural relevance. She understands visibility as a currency and uses it intentionally. Reese does not simply play basketball, she curates moments. That ability makes her valuable not just as a player, but as a narrative engine. Unrivaled hoped to tap into that energy, but without her full commitment, the league was left chasing echoes rather than creating its own identity. The irony is that Unrivaled was designed to reduce dependency on singular figures. Its format emphasized speed, teamwork, and constant motion, theoretically minimizing the need for a single dominant personality. But sports history has never worked that way. From Michael Jordan to Serena Williams, from LeBron James to Lionel Messi, formats evolve, but fandom remains human, and humans attach themselves to faces and stories, not systems. Speculation quickly filled the vacuum. Some insiders suggested that Unrivaled overestimated its leverage, assuming that star players would feel pressure to participate simply to support the ecosystem. Others argued that the league underestimated how calculated modern athletes have become about their careers. Today's stars do not chase exposure, they manage it. They understand timing, scarcity, and brand alignment better than many executives. There were also quiet whispers about internal hesitation. Rumors circulated that some players were uneasy about workload, injury risk, and the long-term implications of splitting focus between leagues. With the WNBA season becoming increasingly demanding and international opportunities still on the table, Unrivaled may have arrived at a moment when players were less willing to gamble physically and professionally. What made the situation more dramatic was the contrast between expectation and reality. The league's branding promised disruption, but the outcome reinforced tradition. It reminded everyone that women's basketball, despite its growth, still revolves around a small number of gravitational forces. Remove them and the ecosystem wobbles. Caitlin Clark did not comment. Angel Reese did not issue statements. They did not need to. Their absence spoke louder than any press conference. Every article analyzing Unrivaled's struggles inevitably circled back to their names. That alone demonstrated their power. Even when they are not participating, they define the frame. This dynamic also reignited an older debate about responsibility. Should star players feel obligated to support new ventures for the good of the sport, or are they justified in prioritizing their own careers? There is no clean answer. Growth requires risk takers, but it also requires sustainability. Expecting a few individuals to carry every experimental league is neither fair nor realistic. Unrivaled's television deal adds another layer of urgency. With performance-based clauses and opt-out provisions, sustained underperformance could force difficult decisions sooner rather than later. The league now faces a crossroads: chase star power more aggressively or recalibrate its identity to appeal to fans in a different way. Neither option is simple. What cannot be ignored is the lesson already written. Innovation does not automatically replace icons. Formats do not create fandoms. People do. And until new stars emerge with comparable pull, or existing ones choose to fully commit, women's basketball will continue to orbit the same luminous centers. In an unintended way, Unrivaled's stumble elevated Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese even further. It proved that their influence extends beyond any single league or contract. They are not just players within the system, they are forces that shape the system itself. Their choices ripple outward, affecting viewership, marketing strategies, and the viability of entire ventures. The spotlight did not return to them because they demanded it. It returned because the sport still follows their gravity, and until those changes, every new league, no matter how innovative, will be measured against the same question: who are the stars, and are they in the building? So, if a league can't survive without its biggest names, is that a failure of imagination or proof of just how powerful those stars really are? Let us know your views in the comments below.